Star Wars. Love it or hate it, it's one of the few franchises that has solidified itself as truly immortal. It has successfully transformed into a complete cross-media powerhouse, and historically, some of the most iconic Star Wars moments didn't even happen on the big screen. Some of them actually happened on our monitors. Knights of the Old Republic, Jedi Outcast, The Force Unleashed, Battlefront, and recently the Jedi Saga with Cal Kestis. Now these are all iconic games. These games proved that they could be more than movie tie-ins. They could be benchmarks for the entire entertainment industry. All that said, there is a pretty somber reality when it comes to Star Wars gaming in modern times. You see, a Star Wars logo is no longer a guaranteed win, because for every masterpiece that has defined a generation, there is a project crumbling under its own weight. We're seeing games announced with massive CGI trailers that essentially get sucked into a black development hole for years, leaving us all wondering if they were ever real to begin with. How's it going, by the way? I'm Mr. Holton, and today we're looking at the chaotic state of Star Wars games in 2026. But before we do that, a huge shout out to all of you good folks over on Patreon for supporting the channel. And if you want to become a supporter yourself and unlock exclusive content, access to our community Discord, and more, all you have to do is follow the link in the pinned comment below. Alright, shilling over. Now, grab a cup of coffee, make yourself comfortable, and let's travel to a galaxy far, far away. Let's start with the project that effectively shattered the community's trust for quite a while there, the Knights of the Old Republic remake. Now, I've personally covered the forensic disaster of this development cycle before, and for a long time, the narrative was, well, it was pretty bleak. We watched the project get stripped away from Aspyr like a toy from a toddler, handed over to Saber Interactive, and then total radio silence. For years, the only update we got was the occasional "it's still in development," which is basically executive speak for "we're still trying to figure out how to make a lightsaber not look like a glowing pool noodle." It even reached a point where the community wasn't even sure if the game was real anymore, or just a shared hallucination that we all had back in 2021. But as of March 2026, the feeling has actually started shifting somewhat. First, we had Saber's chief creative officer, Tim Willits, tell IGN that the remake is absolutely still a priority. Which is nice, Tim, but we've heard that all before. However, the real spark of hope came from a source many of you already know: 100% Star Wars. You see, in an update on March 10th, Luke, who has basically been the unofficial lighthouse for this project, claimed to have actually seen Saber's version in action, and his verdict is that he was extremely impressed. According to him, letting Saber hit the reset button and start from scratch was the right call. Apparently, the original Aspyr version was leaning way too hard into a combat style that felt like a poor man's Fallen Order, which is exactly what happens when suits try to chase trends instead of respecting the source material. And now, Saber is allegedly getting things right holistically. Mr. 100% Star Wars even speculated that if they keep this pace up, we might finally see a full reveal trailer this year. So while the KOTOR shadow is very real, it's no longer a story of a dying project. It's becoming a story of a studio that realized the weight of the crown they were carrying and decided to do whatever it took to get it right. And day by day, the distrust is being replaced by a genuine, cautious optimism. Now, for a lot of fans, the most exciting thing isn't actually a remake at all in the Star Wars gaming sphere. Actually, it's the return of the man who laid the foundation, Casey Hudson. Indeed, the former BioWare general manager, the guy who gave us the original Knights of the Old Republic and the Mass Effect trilogy, is officially back in the director's chair for a Star Wars RPG. His new team at Arcanaut Studios practically set the internet on fire when they dropped that pretty cool reveal trailer at the Game Awards in December 2025. Now, what makes this project, titled The Fate of the Old Republic, so interesting is that it's essentially a spiritual homecoming. You know, that is to say, a single-player, choice-driven narrative RPG set at the tail end of the Old Republic era. But of course, as this is Star Wars we're talking about here, you can't have a little excitement without a little bit of dread. You see, the conversation in late 2025 was dominated by the 2030 rumors, because a few months back, industry reporter Jason Schreier suggested we wouldn't see this game until the end of the decade, pointing out that Arcanaut is a relatively new studio and AAA development now takes roughly 84 years. But Casey Hudson? He wasn't having any of it. He took to Twitter personally to debunk the claims, promising the game will be in our hands well before then, saying, "I'm not getting any younger." Now, there's a lot of speculation on how they're moving so fast, and one of the prevailing theories is that Casey is leveraging assets and prototypes from his previous project at Humanoid Origin, which sadly shut down in late 2024. Now, the idea is that if they manage to salvage their work and pivot it into Star Wars, it could possibly shave years off of the development cycle. They also just hired Pascal Blanche, the legend behind the art of Assassin's Creed and Avatar, as their studio art director last month, proving that they are staffing up at light speed. At any rate, for the first time in over 20 years, we have the architect of the Old Republic back at the helm making another title. And instead of just replaying the past, we're actually going to see the future of the Old Republic era. Obviously, this is a huge win for everyone who wants deep BioWare-style storytelling to return to the galaxy, and I think I speak for all of us when I say, Arcanaut Studios, please save us. You're our only hope. Now, if the KOTOR remake and Fate of the Old Republic are the projects where we're finally starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel, Star Wars Eclipse is, unfortunately, the complete opposite. We're coming up on 5 full years since the stunning CGI trailer that debuted at the Game Awards in 2021. You know, the one with the drumming and the high production. And as of April 2026, the silence from Quantic Dream has gone from mysterious to genuinely concerning. As right now, unfortunately, it has the signs of a project that might actually just be a tax write-off. You see, a massive report just dropped on April 6th from Mike Straw at Insider Gaming, and it doesn't sugarcoat the situation at all. According to his sources, development on Eclipse is very slow going, and by slow going they mean the team has reportedly made very little progress over the last several months. Now, a good portion of the foundational content is technically built. Apparently, the assets are in place and the right feeling is there, but the project has hit a massive wall when it comes to actually, well, making the game. Now, the actual drama is happening behind the scenes at their parent company, NetEase. You see, the word is that NetEase is incredibly hesitant to pour more money into this black hole right now. They've allegedly tied the future of Eclipse to the success of a completely different game, a multiplayer title called Spellcasters Chronicles. Spellcasters... what now? Now, this game launched in early access back in February 2026, and to put it bluntly, it's allegedly been a complete and utter disaster. It peaked at under 900 players and is currently averaging around 70 people. Oh boy. Now, apparently, if Spellcasters can't generate the revenue NetEase was expecting, there are serious rumors that the publisher might re-evaluate their entire commitment to Quantic Dream. So at this stage, it's looking like Star Wars Eclipse is still light years away. Well, maybe not light years, but 2028 or 2029. It really is a bizarre situation though, because it feels like the entire project is just stuck in carbonite. We're watching a project with unlimited potential being held hostage by technical hurdles and corporate balance sheets. It definitely makes you wonder if we'll ever see actual gameplay, or if the 2021 footage is the only Eclipse we'll ever see. Now, while the rest of the industry continues to chase the next big thing, which usually translates to a 300 million open-world game that launches with more bugs than a Geonisian hive, Lucasfilm Games has actually done something, dare I say, smart. You see, instead of betting the entire house on a few massive all-or-nothing blockbusters, they've started to shift their strategy behind the scenes toward more specialized mid-range experiences. First up is Star Wars Zero Company. Now this is a tactical strategy game being developed by BitReactor, a studio basically overflowing with veterans who built the XCOM games. It's apparently set during the chaotic final years of the Clone Wars, and you lead an improvised unit of misfits appropriately named Zero Company. Now what makes this one stand out is that it's heavily leaning into the gritty, grounded aesthetic of shows like Andor and the movie Rogue One, and I can't wait to see it. However, if strategy isn't your thing and you're more about going so fast that your internal organs start liquefying, well, we've got Star Wars Galactic Racer. This one is currently slated for a late 2026 release, and it's essentially the spiritual successor to the pod racing games we spent way too much of our childhoods playing. I personally put hundreds of hours into Episode 1 Racer back in the day, which in hindsight probably wasn't very good for me, but I digress. Galactic Racer is being built by Fuse Games, a studio founded by the creative leads behind Burnout and Need for Speed. Apparently, Galactic Racer is set in the era after the fall of the Empire, and the game features multiple vehicle classes, from speeder bikes to specialized junk racers. Now, the latest gameplay trailers show off a pretty high-risk, high-reward boosting system that feels more like MotorStorm or Burnout than a traditional arcade racer. It's fast, it's visceral, and to me, it's exactly the kind of variety the franchise has been missing lately. You see, we don't need every game to be a 60-hour epic, because sometimes you just want to boost through a canyon at Mach 1 and hopefully not turn into paste while you're at it. And now we have to talk about the project that is carrying the entire weight of the Star Wars brand in the modern era: Star Wars Jedi 3. Now, after the critical success of Fallen Order and Survivor, Respawn Entertainment is currently in the home stretch of the trilogy, and well, the rumors flying around this project right now are absolutely wild. You see, according to insider rumors, we are braced for a pretty big reveal. Multiple insiders, including Tim Geddes over at Kinda Funny Games, have pointed to a September 2026 launch window, which means that EA is probably looking at a full reveal next month or the month after that. Now obviously, the pressure on this game is pretty huge, specifically because of the technical legacy left by Survivor. Now, while Survivor was brilliant in terms of story and world design, the performance at launch was, well, it was just simply terrible. It launched with the stability of a Jenga tower in an earthquake, with constant stutters and framerate issues out the wazoo. Now, to fix the stutter struggle that plagued the last game, Respawn has reportedly moved the entire project over to Unreal Engine 5. And yeah, I know what you're thinking. UE5 has gotten a bit of a bad rap lately for being a resource hog and having had some terribly optimized games. But Survivor was built on Unreal Engine 4, so we can only hope that the move to UE5 means that the devs have tamed the engine at last. As if we see the same performance issues that plagued Survivor be in Jedi 3, I actually think the Star Wars community is gonna riot. All that said, despite the excitement a lot of people have for Jedi 3, there is, of course, a massive elephant in the room: Grand Theft Auto 6. As we all know, GTA 6 is officially slated for a November 2026 launch, and its ripple effects is already terrorizing the entire industry. Some analysts believe EA might get cold feet and push Jedi 3 into early 2027 just to avoid the collision, because nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, wants to be the game that comes out in the shadow of the biggest release in human history. And then there is the bombshell that hit the internet not too long ago. This being that Electronic Arts has been acquired. A Saudi Arabian consortium led by Savvy Games and Affinity Partners bought EA for a staggering $55 billion, and this has thrown a thick layer of uncertainty over every project in development by EA. Now, while Respawn is largely protected by the fact that they've basically been the only ones consistently making money for EA right now aside from, say, FIFA, the new owners are reportedly looking to aggressively cut costs and implement more AI-driven development to offset the big acquisition debt. So while Cal Kestis is facing his final stand on screen, his developers are facing a whole new kind of corporate order behind the scenes. It makes the launch of Jedi 3 more than just a game release. If anything, it's a test to see if the soul of this franchise will survive under a new empire. Now, to end off on a more positive note, it would be remiss of me not to mention that Star Wars The Old Republic is very much alive and well in 2026. And well, if you told me during the infamous Tortanic days that we'd still be talking about this game 15 years later, I would have called you a dreamer. But here we are, with SWTOR just chugging along. We just saw the release of the Master's Enigma update in March, and the big finale for the Legacy of the Sith storyline, update 7.9, Legacy Reborn, is slated for this summer. But the actual excitement is focused on update 8.0, which is currently targeted for December 2026. This being the next expansion for Star Wars The Old Republic. Now, what's even more impressive is that the game is getting a technical facelift. Broadsword is actually doing the impossible here and bringing DirectX 12 to this ancient engine in 2026. And they're even collaborating with teams at EA to integrate rendering components from the Frostbite engine. No, they aren't porting the entire game over to Frostbite. Calm down, but they are using the tech to fix the lighting and the performance. It's an insane amount of work for a 15-year-old MMO, and it proves that as long as there are people willing to pay for cartel coins, this game ain't going anywhere. Because you see, in a galaxy of development hell and cancelled projects, SWTOR is the one constant we still have left in this universe. It's narrative heavy, it's BioWare adjacent, and it's still the best place to live out your Sith Lord power fantasy without worrying about a corporate acquisition deleting your save file because they didn't like the way you choked that one rich guy. This has been Mr. Holton, signing off.